This video 01.1 CAMCAD CPost installation notes is a for CAMCAD direct end users. There's another installation we support for Vero software end users, and that's discussed in section 1.5 or video 1.5. Now note that SurfCam software, the SurfCam location varies from release to release, as shown below, and therefore this write-up always uses symbolic names, which is SurfCam root for the root folder, SurfCam data, post library, and CPost folder. Now this is here just for brevity, so we can generically cover everything, but your support files must contain explicit version-specific paths. So very briefly, the SurfCam root for SurfCam for 17 SurfCam was at Program Files, SurfCam 2017, and 17 and earlier systems could literally be installed anywhere. So all we're covering is the standard location. And beginning with 2018, Vero software installed 2018 R1, R2 of 2018, and 2019 R1 under Program Files, Vero software, Surf traditional space, and then the version and the rev number. Now, beginning with 2020, Hexagon has moved everything to the Hexagon folder, and Surf traditional space again, 2020, and they use a decimal notation, whereas the Vero was an R number notation. So .0, 1, and now 2021.0 is installed here. Now, as far as the data is concerned for all your configuration files and what have you, because of user account control, that is under C:users public SurfCam, as it always has been. But the rev number is important here too. You'll see this changes a little bit. I'm just showing all of these here. Now, the way we CAMCAD install for our end users, we normally recommend for a single client install, we would put the library at SurfCam posts outside of the SurfCam installation structure. And then we would require a separate P 4-digit number for each post that lives underneath the actual post library. So this really becomes the custom post folder itself. Now let's look at an actual install notes text for a recent shipment. This was post number 4300. That's the post name, and the revision was shipped the 19th of September. Now, this customer wanted to put his post under SurfCam post 2020 and then 4300. So that's the custom post folder we're talking about previously. He was running 2020.0. So this is the root folder, and this is the actual config folder for this post. So his install procedure is to back up the setup.dat file if it exists, unzip the contents of the distribution zip file into the custom post folder. This is a little redundant here. And then copy paste the post items below to your active SurfCam data folder, which is in here, in this location. And then restart the NC Operations Manager if it was active. So symbolically, this looks this way. So here's the status line. This is a post item that goes in your post menu config file. And the status line lights up when you click on this item in the Operations Manager. And so you'd issue the command, and this has to point to the SurfCam root, and we're running a utility INC to apt. Now these switches here are critical, and they vary with the custom post based upon what we need in order to get the functionality that you need. And then we move to the custom post folder, and we copy a config TBL file and overwrite the standard one in the data folder. And the reason for that is that SPost needs an active config TBL file with settings in order to find all its files. So this is the cleanest way to do this. We're going to do a copy file here, and then there's another file. This is optional. This may or may not be with your custom post. It depends on whether we needed custom command syntax in order to support the functionality of your post. And there's a file that's called inci-text.txt that also needs to be in the data folder. So we grab the post 4300 from the custom post folder, and we copy and overwrite that just before we actually execute the post itself. This is the command that executes the post processor. Again, SurfCam root gets replaced with the root for your current version. And then this syntax should be pretty much the same. So this is the input file that was generated up here. This is the actual post number. And then this is the output NC file and the output list file that goes into your NCD folder. %P is the path to the NCD folder. %N is the name that you have highlighted in the Ops Manager, and so forth and so on. And then finally, we run the editor to pick up the setup file, the list file, and the NC file in separate window panes. Now this is symbolically, and this is probably what you'll see on an install notes. Now what you will need to do is actually substitute in the actual path based upon the version you're using, as was shown previously here. Because this could be Vero Software Surf Traditional 2018 R1, R2, and so forth and so on. And then this is the change directory, changing to this particular user's root folder and custom post folder 4300. And we're copying the config TBL file out of it and overwriting the standard one in the SurfCam data folder. Likewise, we're doing the INCI text.txt and overwriting the standard one there. And then this is the full command that runs the post, and the full command that picks up the editor. Now, one thing that people typically do pretty well is they get these paths edited correctly, but they forget that the config TBL file that is in the custom post folder needs to have this path to match the version of the software that you're using. That's critical. So to recap, and we can't emphasize this enough, that your SurfCam version has to match here in the post menu file. This path that's highlighted has to match where your posts live as far as the SPost runtime system is concerned. And so these all have to match. There's change dir, the paths for the commands, and so forth and so on have to be right in order to work. Now there's one little peculiarity here, and that is that the SPost runtime system requires a trailing backslash on all paths here. whereas the command in the post menu file does not want a trailing backslash, referencing that same folder. It's just different syntaxes, and that's just the way it is. And again, one final note, there is a space here, and shown here, but there is no space here. As always, you can call our support desk or email support@camcadtech.com for installation assistance if you're still having problems or if there's something unusual.